What's going on, y'all? Today I'm gonna be giving y'all a behind the scenes look at the setup that I use when filming reaction videos. Now, I've changed this room around probably about 8 to 10 different times, but I feel like I finally landed on a setup that not only gives me more space in the room, but allows me to do more things when it comes to filming. I'll include a link in the description so you can get an idea of all the items that were mentioned during the course of this video. You don't need all of this. This is just what I've used for my setup. And I also have some of this equipment because I film things outside of reaction videos. I'm going to give y'all a view of what everything looks like with the lights off. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting everything on so that y'all can see how it comes together. Favorite part about the whole setup is probably because I can utilize an app which controls all of my lights. Except for this one. See, this one I have to control. I don't know, I might be able to use it on the app, I don't know. And then yeah, so essentially, this is the reaction view. So I know this looks like a huge mess right here, but this is the truth. This is what behind the scenes looks like. I pretty much power this thing off of 3 lights when it comes to having multiple people in the setup. I don't necessarily use this light when I have just me, but I definitely use my key light and then a light off to the side. So this light right here is the Zion Molus. My main light I have mounted using a small wig grip. I am actually thinking about using these lights a lot more, specifically because it comes with a desk mount that I can kind of clamp on here. And this one right here is called the Amaran Burge Max, which is pretty neat because it's just like this little thin dish. And it also has a soft grid on it. And the best thing about it is, like I said, I can control it with the app, and it is also bi-colored. If we move over to this side, this light here actually came with this little desk mount thing that I got. So this desk mount allows me to have a monitor attached to it, a microphone if I want it, and also an extension arm for this light here, which I can change the color to, change the intensity of as well. Another thing that I didn't mention, I do have another light here, which is a small little aperture light, and it's just in case I need to bounce some additional light on my people who are within the studio, which brings me back to my newest light in the studio, which is this Amaran 60C. When I typically have people who are sitting not on this row, but on this potentially back row, I use that light to kind of light them from the back and then have the stand off to the side to where you can't see it on the camera view. And the biggest thing is I do not use the actual lights in the room. That is a no. No, I do not use the actual lights in the room. I like to cut everything off and shape the light for myself. When it came to setting this room up, I wanted to make sure that I could go from lighting 1 person to up to 4 people if needed. All right, so now that I got all the lights on, we're not gonna do a full room tour, but I am gonna talk about all of the elements behind me and how I utilize those for reactions. Now, if we go to the brains of the operation, one of the biggest things I'll say is having multiple different monitors. When I have multiple different monitors, what it allows me to do is do my screen recording on one monitor, and then I can do my actual monitoring of what is being recorded and my audio levels and all of that good stuff on another monitor. I have it switched around today, but I typically have a software program called OBS that I use, and I put that screen on this side, and then I have whatever I'm reacting to on this particular screen so I can be looking straight ahead. Another thing to note, with my OBS, I actually have 2 instances of it running. I have one instance which is capturing our reaction here, like in the studio, and I have another instance of OBS which is simultaneously recording what I'm seeing on screen. That way, when it comes to editing, I can sync that stuff up super easy. And how I get my video feed is I use my actual camera. Now, the camera that is right here, it is a Sony FX3. Overkill for doing reactions, but it was a camera that I had because I was doing other content as well. All right, so let's talk about the lens. The lens that I'm using is typically a 24 to 70 lens. When I have a group of 2 or more, I typically stay at 24. And then when I'm just doing solo reactions, I may crop in anywhere to about 35, just depending on a particular look. One of the key things to note too is because I'm doing like continuous recording, sometimes my recordings are even longer than 2 hours. I actually have a dummy battery inside here. So it's a dummy battery that is plugged up to an AC adapter that allows me to have constant power the whole time. So That is another thing. If I were to use typical batteries for my camera, they may not last the entire recording, and I don't want to do a lot of starting and stopping, so I just went ahead and got dummy batteries that are plugged up to constant power. And I have an HDMI card that goes all the way back into my computer here. And this HDMI card is a Camlink 4K. Me in particular, I like to do all my content in 4K in case I want to do a lot of cropping in and things of that nature. And it is going into a gaming PC, which is the iBuy Power model, I believe. Like I told you, I want my setup to be either for 1 to 4 different people. So I have this Rodecaster Pro 2, and this gives me 4 different mic inputs. I don't know if you can see the back on there, but it gives me 4 different mic inputs. And it also gives me 4 different headphone jacks so that everybody can toggle their volume independently, which is something that they pretty much ask for frequently every day. So this thing right here, I will highly recommend it. If you have a smaller setup than what I have, they do have one that just has 2 inputs, which I actually have right over here. Again, excuse the mess, I've been busy editing, so I hadn't had time to clean up my desk. And I also have channels for every single mic. So right now I just have this one mic on, and if I were to cut this other mic on, you'll see that both of the levels are beginning to hop up. So this right here is super clutch and allows me to plug in high quality mics. I'm using the Shure SM7B mics, and then I also have another mic, which is another Rode mic, which I'll swing around here to show you. And for the mics, I have these like boom arm things. These are decent. I'm thinking about getting some more because for whatever reason, I don't want to down it, but this little section here, it does tend to get a little flimsy. And then once you add too much tension to it, sometimes it feels like it just continues to fall over. But like I said, it's decent overall. I am thinking about getting a different type of boom arm for this. Occasionally, if I have some additional things like a laptop or things that I need, I'll just put them on these little, what do you call these things? Little mobile desk. Actually, this is the same mobile desk that's right here. I think I actually picked both of these up from Walmart, actually. When it comes to live streaming, I use a Stream Deck. So the Stream Deck allows me to do things like change camera angles. So if I were to click this is my main camera angle. If I were to click this button right there, it'll give me a gaming square on there. If I were to click the outro button, it'll go ahead and preview my outro screen. So there's a few actions that I do pretty frequently. And if I want to have a better production, then I just go ahead and key that in as its own screen. This is my keyboard. Shout out to Ayula Keyboards. They sponsored this one, so appreciate them. If y'all want to shop with them, I'll have a link in the description. They make some super dope mechanical keyboards, and I just love look at the way that sounds. I just love the way that sounds. Moving on. So Dre, he was one of my closest friends. He has unfortunately passed. He's helping me out even after he's passed because he is blocking all of my terrible cable management that is going on behind here. One of the most important things too when it comes to my setup, I know it's dark over here, is my storage. So I have recently switched to a NAS system, which is a network attached system. It's actually called a network attached storage. I'll do another video on that, but it's pretty much like having my own home cloud server, which actually I have 2 of them because I have another one right over here that I use as well from a different company. But essentially that allows me to not have the thousands of hard drives. I always love it when people mail in some fan letters and things of that nature. So appreciate you so much. This letter actually came from Chanel, who was the one who actually did the artwork on this Dre picture here. When it comes to headphones, I'm really loving these Audio Technica headphones that I picked up. I think I picked them up at a local music store, Guitar Center specifically is where I got those. So the biggest thing about this setup is when I come in, all I gotta do is get on my app, cut the lights on, cut the camera on, and cut the computer on, and everything looks the exact same. I don't have to worry about doing a lot of tearing down and putting back up because I keep everything exactly as it is, so I can get a consistent look across all of my videos. I'll flip over to this back side just to let you know that when I said I had a lot of lights, I have a lot of lights. And these are the lights that are not necessarily lighting me, but they're lighting the environment. So I have a few of these little tube lights there just to kind of add some hair light. I've been using this lightning bolt forever. I don't know, I like it. I just love it. And then I have a light that is going here. You can see it has a particular shape to it that just cast on my wall right here above my editing station. And then I also have a computer light, which is actually controlled, if we go back over, by this little device here. So again, if I were to just click that, off, on, off, on. And I have an additional light, which is this light here, which shines back and kind of helps backlight us as we're reacting on that side. And this stuff right here is just fun lighting. I have another tube light set to red, and I really love purples and blues. So I'm actually using some of these Govee stand lights, which I got those from Target or Best Buy, or both. I think I actually got one from Target and I got one from Best Buy. And then one of these little star lights that you can get off like Amazon, which just is casting right there, and another one right there that is at the bottom. Other cool thing about this Rodecaster Pro is it has a lot of effects in there. So I've wanted to do something where I change the sound of my voice, add an applause sound effect, cue in some outro and intro music. I can do that. I can also run this via Bluetooth to another device, which is my laptop, which I do occasionally when it comes to having music play on the intermission screen or my loading screen. That is the setup that I have going on for now. I know this is not typically what you see. I do think I want to work a little bit better on my cable management, but this has been working for me so far. iPad, I'm not even gonna capture y'all, I just set this here so it looked like I was a little bit more organized than I am. But in case anybody wants to know what time it is, there's the iPad right there. I also highlight these here. These are not typically a part of my reaction setup. These are actually the mics that I'm using right now. These are wireless lapels by Hollyland. And I typically actually would use these during a live stream where I plan on not necessarily sitting right up next to the desk. And that just gives me good quality audio without having to be attached right next to the whole setup. All right, now we're gonna do a little range test, but I'm gonna walk backwards first and then I'm gonna walk back up this way. I never really understood why people held on to the lapel mic, but I don't know. I think I may start doing it. I ain't gonna lie. It feels like a me type of thing. That gotta be shown somewhere, man. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into me getting that. I've had a lot of people ask me what this is in the back. So this is actually just a divider. It's a room divider, but I chose this one because you can see through it, which allows me to put light on the back side, and it kind of breaks it up so the light that you see in the back is just not harsh. So that's a quick breakdown of the setup that I use when it comes to filming reaction videos, along with some of the gear that I use as well. So drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions about anything that was mentioned in this video, and I'm gonna try to get to you as quick as possible. All right, I'm out.